How many of us are familiar with the term culture shock? Have we even thought about what it really means? According to an article by Junzi Zia in the International Journal of Psychological Studies, the term culture shock was introduced by an anthropologist, Kalervo Oberg, who described it as being the psychological disorientation experienced by people who suddenly enter radically different cultural environments to live and work. Good afternoon. My name is Christie. I'm a student at the Clover Park Technical College and a recent immigrant from Jamaica. Thank you for inviting me to speak here today. In my presentation, I will use my personal experience to demonstrate culture shock with regard to 3 areas. As you will see on my chart, racial diversity, climate, and social status. Coming from a country like Jamaica, the first thing that probably hits you on your arrival in America is that the tables have turned with regard to racial diversity. Having come from a country like Jamaica with a population that is approximately 98% black and 1% white, you immediately notice that your racial group is in the vast minority. You later learn that you actually belong to a racial ethnic group, which in my case is classified as African American. Formerly, you were just black. Considering too that the 1% white population of Jamaica belongs almost exclusively to the upper echelons of society, you also experience culture shock in observing the wide range of jobs done across the board by the white population here. Climate is another variable that is immediately observed, particularly if you arrive here in the fall or winter months. Your immediate response is probably, why did I ever leave warm Jamaica to come and live in the icebox? To give you an idea about our climate in Jamaica, we even have a popular song entitled 98 Degrees in the Shade. We jokingly like to describe our temperature as being hot and hotter. Temperatures range between 85 and 98 degrees. If we ever get below 80 degrees, it's considered to be really cold. Do I need to tell you then about adjusting to Washington state weather? We're accustomed to the rain in Jamaica, so that doesn't bother me. But any temperature below 50, I have a problem with that. In Jamaica, for generations, my family has been considered as belonging to middle class. Since coming here, I have learned that I am lower income. That indeed is culture shock. You see, Jamaica is a very classist society. So in my psyche, I immediately translate lower income to mean lower social class. I can therefore fully identify with Camina Robinson, a fellow Jamaican living in New York, who in an interview following her swearing in as a US citizen was quoted in the New York Times as saying that her formerly middle-class family suffered a big culture shock, having to start from the bottom all over again in the US. Most migrants are also not prepared for the difficulty to gain meaningful employment within a relatively reasonable period of time after resettling in the US, and that certainly affects social status. In commenting on a study about the effects of culture shock on Caribbean migrants to Canada, Neil Armstrong acknowledged the difficulty faced by immigrants in obtaining jobs in their fields and in keeping with their level of training. Similar conditions prevail here in the US. In conclusion, as promised, I have used my personal experience and observations since arriving in the US just about 18 months ago to demonstrate culture shock as it relates to racial diversity, climate, and social status. The logical question might therefore now be, how does one get over culture shock? My approach is to make a determined effort to adapt to my new cultural environment by learning the US culture while sharing my own, rather than offering resistance. My intention is that at the end of the day, I can say like Kamina Robinson did at the close of her interview, I still complain that it's too cold here, but I'm happy now.